On today's Daily Slab, we are going to be looking at Connor McDavid's market after his disappointing loss. We are also going to be covering the difference in Trout and Ohtani autos, which should be a fun one. And we are going to be looking at the top 5 sales of the week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's Daily Slab. Welcome everyone to the Daily Slab. I am Nate, and our trender for today is Connor McDavid. So the 26-year-old just finished up the year leading the league in points and assists, or goals and assists, which obviously makes him lead the league in points. An excellent year for the 26-year-old. But it ended in disappointment. And every year he's played has ended in disappointment. He's been in the league for 8 years. He has yet to advance to a Stanley Cup Finals, including this past year when they lost in round 2. And he has more seasons played than series won in the playoffs. He has won 4 series in the playoffs in the McDavid era for the Edmonton Oilers. 4 series compared to 8 seasons played for them. In fact, he's missed the playoffs 3 seasons. Now, that was early on in his career. Can't really fault him for that. But still, 3 missed playoffs compared to 4 playoff victories or series wins. Not exactly what you want to see from, quote-unquote, the best player in the world. If you are the best player in the world, not a very good player, not an all-star, no, we're talking about, quote-unquote, the best player in the world, in Connor McDavid, you have to win. You just have to win. And he has not been winning in the playoffs. Edmonton has been disappointing year in and year out. And at some point, that will catch up to your market. You can see on the graph here that his Young Guns PSA 10 in the last month was actually up 7%. We mentioned at the end of the trender, because this is taken from the newsletter, that this sale happened the day of their loss, so we'll see what happens with the next sale. Well, you can see 7% in a month. Well, I have an update for you. The next sale did happen. It happened on the 17th, and it sold for $2,975, which means that in the last month, or since the 16th of April, which is when this graph starts on the page, it is down less than 8%, but it is still down. And that is more important, I think, than anything else, is that McDavid in a month is down in price despite being the best player in the world, because you have to win. No matter the sport, if you want to be the best, you have to win. And even Trout is finding that out. Even, guys like Ohtani. If Ohtani and Trout don't win this year, there's going to be some major disappointment. And it's the big argument people use against Trout when talking about him. And if he had won more, his prices would likely be even higher. And same with McDavid. If he doesn't start winning, especially now that he's entering his late 20s, getting close to 30s, might be tough to consider him the best player in the world. All right, for our post of the day, we just talked about Trout and Ohtani, and they are on this post here. And so you can see the price on the Ohtani PSA 10, $11,000, sold in May, and the Trout PSA 10, so a slight bump there, selling for $12,100 end of April. If that sounds crazy, yeah, there's only $1,000 difference between these two cards. These two teammates, both their hitting cards. Of course, Ohtani has the pitching rookie auto, but for right now, these two cards are only $1,100 difference, and probably not even that much considering Trout's is a PSA 10. So the question here is, which one would you rather have on your team? Of course, you have Ohtani, best, most talented player we've ever seen. Probably won't end up getting the counting stats at the end of his career because he dealt with injuries the first numerous years of his career. He's really only been pitching for 3 years. And then you have Trout, who is a Hall of Famer by the age of 30, and now he has, an extra 8, 9 years, whatever it might be, to add to his Hall of Fame pedigree. So you have the safe option in Trout, guaranteed Hall of Famer, likely won't be the challenging Barry Bonds or Babe Ruth for the best player of all time because of injuries and COVID-shortened year, but he's already a Hall of Famer, whereas Ohtani, not a Hall of Famer yet, going to have to put up a number of good seasons into his 30s to make sure that he becomes a Hall of Famer. So there is risk there, obviously. He blows out an elbow. Well, there goes hitting and pitching for a while. I don't know which one I'd really choose. Like, Ohtani has a whole country behind him in Japan, and Trout has an entire generation that thinks he's the best player that they've ever seen, right? Because he is the best player they've ever seen until Ohtani came along. And then there's Ohtani, who is the best player we've ever seen. And so it's I don't know. Trout is safe. Ohtani is exciting. I don't know which one I'd choose. I would be happy with either, I guess. From a pure upside standpoint, I get it would have to be Ohtani. You know, he puts up 200 innings pitched in a year and gets 600 plate appearances. He's probably a 13, 14 win player, as long as he pitches like he has been. Trout is never going to get to those numbers. It's impossible. But he is already a Hall of Famer. He could retire today, and he'd be elected into the Hall of Fame in 5 years, first ballot guaranteed. So, I want to know what you think. For me, I probably choose Ohtani. And then lastly, in what's happening, we've got our top 5 sales of the week. And if you like modern cards, well, this section is not going to be for you, as the top 5 sales were old cards. Coming in at number 5, you've got 1910 E98 set of 30 Ty Cobb Red PSA 10. That sold for $222,000 on the 11th on Heritage. Obviously, we all know Ty Cobb. If you know sports cards, you know Ty Cobb, and that's a healthy price. 1916 M101-5 Sporting News Blankback Babe Ruth SGC 1.5 is our card number 4, because that sold for $276,000 on Heritage on the 11th as well. You know, funny, we're talking about Babe Ruth, same day we're talking about Ohtani, and cut from the same cloth, those two. Number 3 is 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle PSA 7 that sold for $360,000 on Heritage on the 11th. And also, number 2 is also Mickey Mantle, 1952 Topps, but this time, instead of a PSA 7, you have the SGC 7.5, and that 0.5 bump gets it a nice $24,000 bump from $360,000 for the PSA 7 to $384,000 for the SGC 7.5. That also sold on May 11th for Heritage. And then our last card, it didn't sell on Heritage, but it did sell on May 11th, and that is the 1957 Topps Bill Russell Rookie PSA 8.5, and that sold for $660,000 on May 11th. So if you were wondering if there's still big money out there in the card market, yes, there is. There's still people spending north of $600,000 on cards. Of course, you have to have a nice Bill Russell to be able to make that money, but still, big money on cards. If I were to choose one of these cards, I'd be hard-pressed to not choose the Babe Ruth, one of the best players in the history of baseball. 1916 rookie there. So I would choose the Babe Ruth if I had to choose any, but of course, you know, I don't think I'll ever have to worry about being able to afford a Babe Ruth, because that is a lot of money. All right, thank you everyone for watching today's Daily Slab. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button, and don't forget to hit that subscribe, and I will talk to you over the weekend for the next Daily Slab. See you, everyone.